Hello, you're listening and watching QGN, Queer Gamer News, where we read the articles that you don't want to, but we encourage you to do anyways. My name is Darkborne, and here are this week's topics. On January 25th, 2021, Forbes' Paul Tassi reports Cyberpunk 2077 players have been disappointed with the scale of the recent 1.1 patch for the game, which felt more like a hotfix than a substantive improvement for all platforms. But soon enough, players began to run into a singular game-breaking bug that was introduced with the patch that halted their progress entirely. In the Down on the Street quest, there's a bug where Takamura calls you and then just doesn't say anything. It's not just goofy, it kills all main quest progress, and reloading the save won't even get rid of it. You essentially can't do much else after you hit this bug, which will softlock your game. Now, CD Projekt Red has an official workaround, and Tassi heard suggested previously. But now it's official and being shared on their social media. But it has a catch that you need an earlier save that you may or may not have access to. Here's the process according to them. Step 1. Load the game save before Takamura and V leave Wakako's office. Step 2. Finish the conversation with Takamura outside the office right away. Step 3. Right after the finished conversation, when the quest was updated, skip 23 hours. Step 4. See if the holo call triggers and the dialogue with Takamura starts. Again, this requires a game save before you leave Wakako's office, and since Takamura doesn't call you until a full day later, it's not a guarantee that players will even have a game save before that point, as quick saves and autosaves get eaten up pretty quickly. CD Projekt Red has said that they, quote, plan to release a hotfix as soon as possible, end quote. But there is no date on that yet. Tassi's advice is to simply not play the game at all until they do so. Hell, at this rate, Tassi's advice might not be to play the game until next fall. The next scheduled patch, other than the emergency hotfix, is supposed to be for some time in February. CD Projekt Red did indeed meet their promised January within 10 days deadline for this first patch, but of course, at the cost of the patch breaking the game. The next patch is supposed to be more substantive than this one, though that isn't saying much considering that this one did not feel terribly substantive, even if patch memory leaks is a difficult process. On the player's end, it just doesn't seem like there's much difference, and tons of bugs and performance issues remain, to say nothing of the big new bug this patch introduced. This is going to be a long process. That much has been made immediately clear from how this is going so far. Again, it seems like the best course of action may be to set down Cyberpunk for a good long while and just experience it once it's whole in however many months that takes. Stay tuned for more updates about this upcoming hotfix. Let's talk about this. Right here is Bloodhound from Apex Legends. For a very long time, it's been a controversy. As I roll my eyes, it's been a topic of debate, let's be honest. It's been a topic of debate over and over again, unnecessarily, about Bloodhound's gender. Bloodhound is non-binary. Not only has Apex Legends, Respawn Entertainment, and the voice actor, Allegra Clark, have confirmed that, once again, Bloodhound is non-binary. Let's say this, and I want you to repeat after me. Presentation does not equal gender identity. It is not the same thing. For most people, I like to present male. But I'm non-binary. My friends know that I use he, they pronouns. But let's also take into the constant battle that we as LGBTQIA plus players and entertainers have to go through with the gaming community. It's very gatekeeping and very toxic most of the time, especially for female players. But let's talk about this gatekeeping cis white male toxic masculinity that just keeps happening. As queer players, we are constantly fighting for representation within games. We have in Overwatch, we have Soldier 76, we have Tracer. In Destiny 2, we have official confirmation that Osiris and Saint 14 are a loving gay couple. For years, Destiny 2 has in their lore loving lesbian couples. The point that I'm trying to make is that we are constantly at a battle of having to fight for representation up front and not just in lore bits. That's what Destiny 2 did with Osiris and Saint 14. That's what Apex has done with Bloodhound. That's what Overwatch has done with Soldier 76 and Tracer, and it just goes on and on. Representation always matters. Players like to see themselves in games they play. As someone that's non-binary, it was great to see Bloodhound and to hear that Bloodhound is canonically non-binary. And every time they are described, it is always they, them. It's fantastic. It's a great step forward. But it's not enough. We are constantly having to fight this whole erasure problem from toxic gaming community. We need to stop letting trolls dictate how things happen in games. And one of the perfect examples of that toxic trolling success was the erasure of Jack's pansexuality in Mass Effect 2. Jack was written as a pansexual character for both the male and the female Shepard. They were supposed to have meaningful same-sex moments with the female Shepard. But that didn't happen. It got erased. Why? Because of toxicity. And these things need to end. We need to stop allowing our community from being erased every time that representation is brought in by one of these gaming companies. And to the gaming companies, you need to stop letting trolls dictate who's allowed to exist and who's not allowed to exist in your games. If you have a character that represents beautifully and accurately a very marginalized and underrepresented member of a community at large, keep them. As long as there are a proper representation and not some sort of ploy to basically steal from a culture or misrepresent a gender identity or a sexuality, then keep them in. Take constructive criticism, but don't erase us just because white cis males that are straight feel uncomfortable with our existence. On January 25th, 2021, TechRadar.com's Henry St. Ledger reports Microsoft may have 2 unannounced Xbox Series X exclusive games in the works for 2021 if recent rumors are anything to go by. Sources are claiming that at least 2 AAA titles from Xbox Game Studios are set to launch in the coming months, adding more feathers to Microsoft's bow and building up a library of Xbox Series X exclusives to take on the PS5. It's an area that PlayStation fared much better in during the last console generation, with the likes of God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn coming solely to PS4, both getting sequels in the form of God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West. Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us 2 both launched as late as 2020, showing a strong final stretch for the console's exclusive catalog. Jez Corden, tech blogger and editor for Windows Central, claimed in an episode of the Xbox 2 podcast that, quote, "I know of at least 2 games, big games, that aren't on that list that are coming from Xbox in 2021, end quote. As reported by the Gaymer, Xbox narrative director Dave Morgan also cited, quote, "exciting new AAA titles," end quote, on his LinkedIn profile that were, quote, "yet to be announced," end quote, suggesting that some announcements could be incoming soon. It's not a razor-sharp prediction then, by any means, and there's no telling what delays these unannounced games may run into. The launch date for any game being more malleable before a public commitment to a particular day or release window. But let's not forget that first-party titles come to Xbox Game Pass on the day of release, so any subscriber to the service could have a big year ahead. It's not surprising that Microsoft may be looking to strengthen its lineup of exclusive games. The company has been pretty explicit about the aim for this console generation, given the PS4 vastly outperformed the Xbox One on that front. Headway is certainly being made with the likes of Everwild from Microsoft-owned studio Rare, as well as indie game Echo Generation and full-on FPS Crossfire X coming exclusively to Xbox this year. Halo Infinite will be coming to 2021 after a delay beyond its initial late 2020 release window, which will likely be one of the most tempting reasons to pick up the console, though Microsoft will need to really ramp up supply of the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S in the coming months, given how hard it is currently to get a hold of either. The recent acquisition of Bethesda's parent company, ZeniMax, also means there's potential for Xbox Series X exclusivity or timed exclusives for the likes of The Elder Scrolls 6 or Starfield, as well as the inevitable Fallout 5. Of course, the health of the Xbox platform hinges on a multitude of multi-platform releases. In 2021 alone, we're expecting to see Far Cry 6, Gotham Knights, and Resident Evil Village, which will all be coming to the PS5 and PC. Whatever next-gen console you opt for, there'll be some experience you won't be locked out of. This ends our newscast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Darkborne, and we'll catch you next time. And if you like what you just watched, stay tuned every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday for our regularly scheduled content. Mondays is Dungeons & Dumbasses Flights of the Legacy, an MTG, D&D crossover homebrew campaign. Thursdays, Divinity Original Cheese 2, where we play Divinity Original Sin 2. And Saturdays, Random Gaming. It could be any random game. We're just there to have fun. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell to get notifications every time we go live. Look forward to seeing you soon.